The island of Maui is famous for its beautiful valleys and coastlines. But the one who ventures high upwards along the slopes of Haleakala volcano will be pleasantly surprised. A true ecological gem awaits the visitor, Maui's Winery, in an area called Ulapalakua. The drive from the Central Valley to upcountry Maui is an adventure in itself. The sleepy rural communities of Pukalani, Kula, and Keokea are the settings for truly laid-back island life in rolling green pasture lands. The traveler eventually reaches a foreign-sounding sign, Tedeschi Winery, named after the founding father of the winery, Emil Tedeschi. The arriving visitor immediately senses history. The area has indeed seen a vivid past. Ulapalakua is often translated as breadfruit ripened on the back. Legend tells us that once upon a time, messengers from Hana saw their precious cargo of breadfruit ripen on the long trips around the volcano. In the 1840s, King Kamehameha III leased approximately 2,000 acres of Ulapalakua to L.L. Torbert for the purpose of growing and processing sugarcane. In 1856, the Scottish whaling captain James McKee purchased the property, including land, sugar mill, buildings, implements, and more than 1,600 head of livestock. The Rose Ranch, named after the captain's wife's favorite flower, then developed into a robust enterprise and one of Maui's showplaces. The Lokalani rose she loves so much is now the official flower for the island of Maui. The ranch was once famous for its hospitality as well as for its agricultural progress. King Kalakaua became a frequent visitor, and the merry monarch's love for poker games and his appetite for champagne may have given rise to a number of delicate legends. Sugar production ceased in 1883, and the area became a working cattle ranch. Much of its 20,000 acres remains such to this day. It was in 1963 that C. Parda Erdman became the current owner of Ulapalakua Ranch.
Ulapalakua Ranch has been a cattle ranch since basically the 1850s. Some cattle and some sugar came back in the 1850s. By the turn of the century, it became entirely a cattle ranch. I was born and raised here. My family's been here since 1963 on this particular property. Our primary focus here is on the cattle industry. We do a lot of reforestation and environmental work, which is part of our whole deal, is trying to preserve some of that and bring back some of the native ecosystems.
Visitors at the winery love to stroll about the lush gardens, enjoying the soothing atmosphere of this very spiritual place, or picnic under the majestic trees, some of them more than 100 years old. And who could ever get enough of the spectacular views of the West Maui Mountains across the Central Valley from an elevation of roughly 2,000 feet? The outlying grounds of the winery retain the buildings and landmarks of past eras, from the days of Hawaii's most prosperous sugar plantation to the contemporary home of the Paniolo, or Hawaiian cowboy. And yes, they still herd cattle on horseback. A visit to the winery is a very inspiring mixture of outdoor adventure, education, and nostalgia. What better way to learn island history than by touring the historical grounds?
So what I like to do first is start with a history of the ranch. Then I'm going to take us into our gardens, and I'll point out each of the botanicals that we have here on the property. Back through the gate on the far side is our cellar and the bottling room. Now I know the boys are working in the bottling room today, so we'll just have to peek inside there, and then we'll come on back for tasting after that.
Few visitors know that they are entering truly royal territory when they step into the winery's tasting room. This place is the former King's Cottage. It was built especially for King Kalakaua and his Queen Kapiolani in 1874. It's been said that hula was once performed in the great circle of trees in front of the King's Cottage.
We're thrilled to have you ladies. Thank you. And we're so happy because hula was such a big part of these grounds 160, 70 years ago. It was where King Kalakaua came and they danced and had parties. And so it was wonderful to bring hula back to our celebration.
The tasting room is the starting spot for free tours of the grounds and winery operation.
A carnelian grape gives a nice white juice like this when you squeeze it lightly. What we do then is ferment this for several months here in our vats. Now take a look around here, folks. Do you see any oak barrels in here? No. Again, another hazard to having a vineyard in the tropics. Those wood-burrowing insects make it quite difficult. For the first time, just 1,000 feet above us, we have finally been able to experiment with real oak barrels. We've sealed off a cellar, and hopefully our Syrah vintage will be oak barrels. So that's going to be our first one. It's very exciting.
The 18-foot-long bar in the tasting room was cut from the trunk of a single mango tree. Tasting the delicious Tedeschi wines belongs to the most enjoyable aspects of social life on Maui. All visitors who have tried it agree. It's definitely a great meeting place for people from all over the world who come to chat and sip the wines to get a feel for the one that perfectly pampers their taste buds. Or perhaps there's more than one. It's hard to resist the highly creative Hawaiian-made products, of which some are offered for tasting as well, many of them sweet and rich in chocolate and fruit. The shelves are stocked with specialty foods and gifts related to the traditions of the Tedeschi Winery. Today, 22 acres of volcanic grassland are used to cultivate grapes for Maui's only commercial winery, producing 2 sparkling and 4 still wines. Tedeschi Vineyards produce 30,000 cases of wine per year. The artistic labels feature beautiful artworks so that every bottle gets a special sophisticated personality. The first grapes were harvested at Tedeschi Vineyards in the year 1980, but the endeavor of winemaking began earlier.
Tedeschi Vineyards was started as an agriculture company trying to do diversification, saying let's try to grow grapes here in Maui and in Ulapalakua. And it was an idea of Emil Tedeschi, who came from California in a winemaking background, that he wanted to see if they could grow grapes here. He connected with Part Erdman, the owner of Ulapalakua Ranch, who is very much a promoter of agriculture. And he said, okay, well, here's some land, here's a few buildings, and they started off. We started with planting over 150 different varieties of grapes, trying to see what would grow here in the tropics and what could be made from it. We started with a vine called Carnelian, which is a hybrid that was created from UC Davis, and we use that to create all of our grape-based wines. So the sparklings, the blush, the Ulapalakua Red, those were all using the Carnelian.
The grapes are from California. Here in Hawaii, it's totally different growing season from California or where else. And here in growing is a little harder than somewhere else growing the grapes. Here we don't have dormancy. That's a problem. We don't have dormancy, so sometimes we have to force it to go dormant by cutting the water back. Give it a 30-day dormancy. We're leafing. We're trying to open it up for airflow, and get sunlight in there.
In 1984, the big day came. Tedeschi's first grape product was introduced to the enthusiastic public. Maui Brut Blanc de Noir, which means white from the black, a metal garnering light and dry sparkling wine with excellent body. The famous Maui Brut sparkling wine is sold out at times because this specialty is made in the traditional method champenois and needs to age for a minimum of 3 years after being bottled. The hand riddling for 90 days pays off on the palate, wine experts say, and is one of the reasons why Maui Brut is the toast of wine lists in the finest restaurants and gourmet shops. But don't be sad if you can't have Maui Brut right away. There are other creations to enjoy. The Rose Ranch Cuvée, perhaps, light and dry with excellent body. Or the Ulapalakua Red, if you prefer a medium dry red wine, soft and easy to drink. It was developed with our casual Hawaiian eating style in mind, and may be served slightly chilled. Released in 1985, Maui Blush was the first still wine, tinted pink by the dark skin of the grapes, and makes a wonderful table wine with a pleasant fruity bouquet, a lovely accompaniment for pasta, poultry, and seafood. Have you heard about Framboise de Maui? Maybe you know it as raspberry wine. This unique creation is produced from fresh raspberries, pure cane sugar, and pure grape spirits only. Perfect for sipping by itself, lacing it into coffee, or over ice cream or cake. The talented winemakers had previously tested their skills on other fruits, resulting in the 1977 release of Maui Blanc. a soft, semi-dry pineapple wine of subtle flavor crowned by a lingering finish. It was an instant success. It is produced much like any grape wine. The juice is fermented to tasty dryness, bottled and ready to be shipped around the globe. Maui Blanc today still adds to the great winemaking traditions of the world and sells more than 250,000 bottles a year. Hula o Maui is a fragrant sparkling wine made of ripe pineapples by creating a natural second fermentation in each bottle. One of the best-selling Tedeschi wines is Maui Splash Pineapple and Passion Fruit Wine. Light and fruity, a pineapple wine given an exciting tropical aroma by the essence of passion fruit. Sweet like a dessert wine, but with good acidity and a clean finish. It has fans all over the world. The old days are still alive on the property. A picturesque, sleepy old stone cottage dates back to 1875, and it might have been Captain McKee's office. It served as a tasting room from 1974 to 1997. Close by, a two-faced stone statue of uncertain origin attracts the visitor's attention. It is said to be a rain goddess, a symbol of the magical traditions of old. Nowadays, people bring offerings of rainwater, coins, or flower leis to the mysterious figure to ask for rain in times of drought. The average annual rainfall around the ranch is 28 inches, and quite a few of the 180,000 annual visitors get to experience the blessing, short showers of ua, the water of the heavens.
Where I will ride, ride, ride my painted pony.
The Ulapalakua Thing, Hawaii's longest-running agricultural showcase and food festival, is held on the winery property. It attracts thousands of locals and visitors every year and increases the awareness of the winemaking tradition.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
What's new for the winery now that it's just celebrated its 30th anniversary? New varietals of grapes have been introduced.
What we have done over the last 5 years is totally replant our vineyard, and we're now trying other varietals. We have now Chenin Blanc. We also have Syrah, 2 different types of Syrah, and we'll be starting barrel aging red wines here, which we're very excited about. And then we've just planted an entire line of new varietals for our sparkling wines. We're going to be years away from that.
This is called the Chenin Blanc. This is a ripe white varietal, which is a very high-yielding grape. This year is going to give at least about maybe 5 tons per acre.
It takes thorough knowledge of the land, the weather, the plants, and the people to run a delicate business like a winery on a tropical island. From picking the grapes to labeling the bottles, the Ohana running Maui's winery masters all that expertly. Traveling about the island, you may hear locals talk about Maui's winery. And this hits the point. It belongs to Maui. That's why the business is perpetuated with a lot of care and respect for the Aina, the land which gives the people of Ulapalakua Ranch and Tedeschi Winery such wonderful treasures to share with the world.